Maersk, Alabama.
We are an unarmed freighter.
We have a potential piracy situation.
Copy, Alabama. You should alert your crew. Get your fire hoses ready. Chances are it's just fishermen.
They're not here to fish.
Somali pirates, Formula One racers, and astronauts lost in space. These are just a few of the storylines you can expect to see on the big screen this fall. Here with a behind-the-scenes look of what it took to get some of these films made is Wall Street Journal entertainment correspondent Rachel Dodes. Wow, I was on the edge of my seat, right, watching the Somali pirates when Tom Hanks is in this. Tricky filming this, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, it's really riveting from start to finish, and they filmed it like pretty much all at sea. So you can
where? Do you know where they filmed it?
It was off the coast of Malta.
Okay.
So about 10 miles off the coast. It just looks like you're in the middle of the ocean. At first he was going to do it in tanks, but decided that, you know, he wanted more realism, and so he really wanted it on the actual boat.
And by him, you mean Paul Greengrass, who's the director.
Yeah.
He also did a very realistic film, United 93, correct?
Yeah.
Which was about the terrorist attack of September 11th, and so this is not a subject matter that's a terrain that's unfamiliar to him.
No, he's he really likes to employ this very realistic kind of documentary style to show these terrible events as they actually happen with almost no judgment.
And in this case, Tom Hanks, they actually didn't even have him interact with the actors who were the pirates until this scene where they rush him?
Yeah, that's really interesting, actually. The actors are these actual Somali men from Minneapolis, and they were found on a casting call, all four of them together, and Paul Greengrass wanted to keep them away from Tom Hanks during the whole preparation process so that they met for the first time when they were actually shooting the scene.
Wow.
Where they board the ship, and it's really intense.
Very intense film. Different type of film, Rush. Now this one is Ron Howard is directing this.
Yeah.
He has a lot riding on this film, doesn't he?
He does. It's his first independently financed film, and it's also his first film that really tackles an issue that American viewers don't really know that much about, Formula One racing.
We know NASCAR, right?
Is a big thing here, but Formula One is more popular in Europe, and you know the film got a lot of overseas financing, and so it will probably do really well overseas. In the U.S., I mean, it's testing really well, and hopefully American audiences will embrace it as well.
Is it about sort of one classic rivalry between drivers?
Yeah, it's about these two guys, James Hunt, a British driver, and Niki Lauda, who is this Austrian, and they had this intense rivalry in 1976, and Lauda got in a huge accident, burned most of his body, burned his face, his lungs, and actually it's one of the more inspiring sports moments. He got back in his car like 6 weeks later to race against Hunt because he, you know, was so fueled by this revenge fantasy to get him in the Grand Prix, and it's really. It shows the importance of having an enemy to inspire you.
So, and not a lot of sort of dramatic films here. Now, Gravity, starring Sandra. I'd go see almost anything that Sandra. I mean, I don't care what Sandra Bullock does. I'd go see it. So,
yeah.
But this film, she's lost in space. How are they doing this? It's 3D, right?
It's in 3D, and it's really a very amazing use of 3D because you feel like you're pretty much in space, hovering with George Clooney and Sandra Bullock, which is not a bad.
Not so bad. If I have to be in
it's
space,
okay.
I'll take them.
Yeah. And so he tried, Alfonso Cuarón, the director, tried at first to sort of create space conditions with wires and pulleys, and it just wasn't working.
Right.
So everything was CGI, lots of computers. They had this LED box where Sandra Bullock was inside of it, and her perspective could be projected on the outside, and the set was like all these people with computers. So it took 5 years to make the movie because of all the elaborate post-production, and it really worked.
The only way it would have been more expensive is to actually go into space probably and film this, but just give
Maybe
them
it would
time.
have been less expensive
right?
to go into
Maybe
space.
so. That's next. The final movie you wanted to flag for us, The Wolf of Wall Street. This has got the Quaaludes, cocaine, Leonardo DiCaprio, private jets. What's not to like?
Nothing. And Martin Scorsese.
And Martin Scorsese. Oh, yeah, right, Martin. How could I forget?
And it's kind of the type of thing that is tailor-made for Scorsese. He likes to take these very badly behaved yet charming characters and sort of explore why they do what they do. And it's about this guy, Jordan Belfort, who was in his 20s, and this was back in the 90s. He, bamboozled investors out of more than $100 million at his firm Stratton Oakmont, and he was making like $1 million a week and living the high life until he crashed and burned. So
Let me ask you this, your expert opinion, because you see some of these films out there. Like, do you think there's any fear that the public is numb to that theme? I mean, we've seen a lot of these, like, Wall Street, blanked us all over movies. Do you think I don't know, how's the public going to go for another
I think the key is like the focus on the characters, and that's what Martin Scorsese says, that he really wanted to not make any sort of moralizing judgments about Wall Street or what happened, or show this is a cautionary tale, but just to sort of look at this one guy, how he got himself embroiled into this predicament, and with all the craziness that goes along with it.
All right, I'm sold. I'm going to be eating a lot of popcorn. Rachel Dodes, an amazing preview. That's all going to be in the arena tomorrow. You can read more about it. Thanks, Rachel.
Thank
Love
you.
having you here.